So we're going to do a little bit of an alternative recap on UFC 291 because there was a lot going on there. There was a lot to be called out. There were some really good fights. It was a really enjoyable night. We're going to talk about Bobby Green exponentially growing into this kind of racist, annoying dude who cheats all the time. We're going to talk about Dustin Poirier being a complete and utter douchebag and playing up to the cameras every time they're on. I don't trust that guy and I don't like that guy. We're going to talk about Stephen Thompson. Should he have backed out of that fight because of the 3-pound discrepancy or not? We're going to talk about Conor McGregor calling out Justin Gaethje after he sparked out Dustin Poirier. We're going to talk about the bias in the commentary from DC again. Don't really want to keep bringing it up, but I have to every time I hear it because it actually boils my blood. So we're going to do that. Before we do, if you could hit subscribe, share and like the video, I'd really appreciate that. Cheers. So this video is going to jump all over the place. I'm going to be jumping from one fight to the next, just the way my mind works. So bear with me. Bobby Green, decent fighter. Liked his style and I quite liked his personality. He was always a bit cocky. He was always a bit like kind of hands down by the side, throwing that jab out, antagonizing, talking shit to people in the octagon. I kind of liked it. Over the last few fights, it's like he's flipped the switch to being a complete and utter douchebag and very racist, to be honest with you. During the Black Lives Matter riots there a few years ago, you know, when they burnt down cities all across America and even here in Ireland, in the west coast of Ireland, in the smallest little villages, during the sickness when no one was allowed to go to work, people were allowed to go out and bend the knee for Black Lives Matter. Okay. He was quite good during that time. You know, he brought on his father and he talked about his own father who was black and a criminal, and his mother was a junkie. They weren't able to look after him. There was no real surprises there. And he was adopted by a white man and he brought his father out, and it was this really cool moment. And it really said a lot about him. He talked about violence can't be solved with violence. It's got to be solved with love. And I was like, this dude is legit. I saw him bring his father onto the Joe Rogan podcast and I'm like, I like this guy. And as I said, Bobby Green's style and personality isn't for everybody. And to be honest with you, in terms of his stats and his record, he has got lamped out of it a good few times. Like Dustin broke him up, Fiziev broke him up. There's a few others. He's got a couple of good wins. So he's kind of hit and miss journeyman type of guy. But in recent bouts, as I said, it's like the levels of douchebaggery has been turned up to 1,000. He's firing illegal headbutts into people's faces, ending the fight prematurely, and then roaring and screaming about he is owed money afterwards. I'm like, dude, that ain't cutting it for me. You can see nowadays that he's got a little bit more swagger, a little bit more jive. You can tell that that is a direct result from the culture war and being emboldened by social media and what you can say and what you can't say. And I watched him this week in the embeddeds and I was like, are you for real? And the litmus test is always, how would this go down? How would this be perceived if it was a white person that said it? Let's have a little look.
So now we gotta figure out where the hat rack is out here. I know they got like a little lids or you know what I'm saying? A lot of white people.
So a lot of white people. Then he does a ridiculously uncomfortable laugh and no one that's with him actually joins in because half of them were white. And it's an innocuous enough little statement as he's pandering around in some Salt Lake City mall. But as I said, reverse the roles here. And let's say that was Justin Gaethje strolling around down in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was like, dude, a lot of black people around here, and he bursts into tears laughing. How would that be perceived by people, especially the UFC and the embedded people? I don't think it would go down too well. So he continues and he does a little bit of shopping in this embedded video, and then he proceeds to buy a balaclava. I guess kind of reverting back to the Black Lives Matter riots that he wasn't approving of 2 years ago. Whatever, let's have a look.
I don't know if I should get the hat now or if I should get this. Yeah, I thought it was St. Louis too. But I'm like, all right, I'm gonna rock my little Salt Lake so they know what's up. Represent, you know? Don't be alarmed. We're black.
Don't be alarmed, we're black. That's what he says there as they burst out laughing. Coincidentally, he's the only black person in his entourage, which is strange. Why are you referencing being black all of a sudden 2 or 3 times in an embedded video? What is the purpose of that? What is the purpose of kind of dropping the shoulder, walking along with so much bling hanging off you, wearing a balaclava, walking past young kids who are looking going, what the hell is going on here? I don't understand the purpose. I don't understand the swag. I can kind of understand where it's coming from because, again, he's being emboldened by social media and the perception of, I guess, anti-white rhetoric. So I guess he's turning up the blackness a couple of notches and the douchebaggery a couple of notches. And it is what it is. If we're talking about his fight, did he move mountains against Tony Ferguson, a 39-year-old dude who's on the way out? No, he didn't. Tony actually dropped him in the first round, and then, coincidentally, Bobby Green sticks a finger about 17 inches into Tony's eye. which changes the entire trajectory of this fight, in my opinion, and Tony's opinion, and probably a couple of other people's opinions. Definitely not the commentators, definitely not Daniel Cormier. He wasn't thinking that Bobby Green was not quite on it that night. He was thinking that he was the best in there. And that wasn't the only fight that Cormier was like that in. Any fight with a black fighter, he's like this. Do we have to keep regurgitating it? Do we have to keep bringing it up? You know, I know people have favourites. You look at Michael Bisping. He might be more favourable to Leon Edwards because he's British. But it's not really about race there, is it? And I know people came at me and was like, man, you're totally off the mark here. You're making it about race when it totally isn't. He favours wrestlers and he's always on the side of a wrestler. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I understand that. Everyone has their biases. Everybody has their favourites. 2 weeks ago, Bo Nickel. He was getting absolutely annihilated by Woodburn, according to Cormier, after Woodburn got knocked out cold standing on the feet 2 seconds later. Fine, cool. This week it was Darius Flowers, Jake Matthews. Matthews was putting on an exquisite performance. The dude stepped up. I know there was a change in opponent really late in the game, but look, it is what it is, and the fight transpired. Darius Flowers was getting blasted by Cormier. This dude's power is unreal. His tenacity is insane. It was actually like Jake Matthews wasn't there. It was actually like that he wasn't dominating on the feet, dominating on the ground, choking him out. Not to mention the illegal blow which Flowers went down, completely and utterly faked it. And then in the aftermath, went crazy online talking about he's got altitude sickness or something like that. I didn't hear anyone call it out. I barely heard anyone praise Matthews at all. And I was watching it with my sons and I said, is this my imagination? Or is Matthews winning this fight dominantly? But if we were listening and not watching to Cormier's commentary, it would be like the complete reversal. And they were like, no, you're 100% right. It sounds like Flowers is dominating this fight. I don't understand how this doesn't get called out by the MMA media online, because they were posting videos of Darius Flowers psyching Jake Matthews. Oh, he pretended to be wobbling and then he came back. It was like, dude, you're speaking like he won the fight after that. After that, he faked the shot, stopped the game for like 5 minutes, then got choked unconscious, then made excuses, then cried, then did a social media post saying that he had altitude sickness. You didn't cover any of that. You didn't cover any of the bias from the commentary team. You just made it sound like that he psyched out Jake Matthews. He was pretending to be injured and then he wasn't. Okay, cool, whatever. And I don't understand why you didn't go after Daniel Cormier for his bias. Bring it back to Bobby Green and Tony Ferguson. I think Tony did a really good job. I think that he did himself proud. I do think that there's a little bit left in the tank. I think that he's on a run of losses now that I don't know where there's a way back for him. But you know what? That fight could have been different without the illegal eye poke. That's what I'm saying. As for Bobby Green, I couldn't care less where he goes from here. You're losing the room, bro. You're losing the room. So Wonderboy did his camp, made weight, showed up, and got paid nothing. How do we feel about that? A lot of people are saying Wonderboy is 40 years old and he thinks he can pick and choose fights. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it. Let me know in the comments down below. You think that you would just get in there and fight. After all this preparation, you think you would just get in there and fight. It's Michel Pereira. You know, he's not top of the food chain. With the skills that Wonderboy possesses, you think that he would have went in there and done the job. Was he fearful that he wasn't going to do it because of the extra 3 pounds or whatever else was pounded on after that? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I know that people are talking about Wonderboy making a run at the title. If he beats this guy and another top guy, then he's in contention for a title shot. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening, especially when he doesn't favour a fight against wrestlers. He absolutely hates it. And when you're picking and choosing whether it's a wrestler or whether it's 3 pound over, I don't think it looks good. I think it might just be a punishment from the UFC to not pay him, and going forward he'll be a little bit more, I guess, willing to get in there and get the job done. But that brings us to Dustin with his announcement that I don't want to fight any contenders. You just got sparked out. You fought Charles Oliveira, you got choked out like a child. You fought Khabib, you got choked out like a child. You fought Conor, pathetic performance by Conor. But the second fight I don't think was going your way. The leg break, then you acted like a douchebag. And that seems to be a trend with Dustin Poirier being a douchebag, right? Conor's on the ground, career-threatening injury, and he starts mocking him. Fine. Conor talked a lot of shit. You deserve it. It's reciprocal. The persona that he puts out there in terms of being this really likable guy, he's one of the best guys in the game, he helps in charities and everything like that, I don't buy it. I don't buy it for 1 second. The guy's a douchebag. 100%. It's been well documented that in sparring he likes to beat up newbies. You know, guys that are just making their way in the gym, and he like lamps them all over the gym and then raises his hands in the air as if he's after winning the title. This was in the preparation for the Khabib fight, where he dropped some guy and was like, and new, and he raises his hands up in the air. And when it got to the actual Khabib fight, you tapped out like in 3 seconds. So calm your jets there, bro. You're actually extremely annoying. And there's a lot of people and a lot of videos out there that show the very same sentiment towards Dustin Poirier. And I was actually delighted that Justin got that kick. I didn't think that it landed flush, hit the hand, hit the side of the head / neck, put him down. I think Herb Dean did an amazing job diving over him. He dropped that elbow on him hard. It was very funny. But I was kind of happy that Justin Gaethje got the win. And then obviously in the aftermath of that, we had Conor McGregor embarrassing himself online. Absolutely embarrassing. It's so cringe. I call out cringe here from Paddy Pimblett to Molly McCann to Israel Adesanya, 3 of the most cringy people in the UFC. Conor's catching him. He's catching him, man, with this, what is it, 2 or 3 years of tweeting during main events that he's the baddest guy, that he's the best fighter, that I'm the welterweight champion, I'm the middleweight champion, I'm the fucking lightweight champion. Dude, stop taking coke and go and train. Simple as that. It was embarrassing. I saw Justin Gaethje engaged a small bit. He said that he didn't care, and then it was like an alarm bell going off going, hold on a second, if I get this fight, this means an elevation in my career and in my wallet. So then he kind of reneged and started backtracking and was like, yeah, look, I'd be excited by it. Conor is not coming back to fight anyone. At this stage, I'm done waiting. It's like you have Michael Chandler on the long finger, you've got Dustin Poirier, you've got all these fights that could possibly happen. And it's like, dude, you ain't doing shit. Stop taking chaz, stop taking juice, and stop tweeting. It's embarrassing. I think that's pretty much it. Michael Chiesa got beaten. That's always good. The guy's a whinger. He's always crying into people's face. He's a bit of a libtard. Thought the Jan Blachowicz Alex Pereira fight was decent. Thought it was a decent fight. Don't know how I feel. Don't know why I feel about robberies. Or I think Blachowicz did okay in that last round in terms of on the feet. He got the takedown. Didn't do much when he was there. Again, I'm not sure what way I would have angled that result. But look, I suppose it's good for the division that there's new blood in there and Pereira's the guy. Derek Lewis, hysterical, absolutely funny, man. Love that guy. You could literally watch a TV show or a TV special with him. He's a funny guy, man. And as I said, look, there was so much going on in there. I think I jumped all over the place there, but sure, look, let me know down below and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.